the same clothes. What? We didn't shower or change for a week.
We didn't. Then we think.
No, we're just pre-recording this one after the other one. This one is a little bit of a lighter one.
Yeah.
There's the only trigger warning is murder.
Don't mess with the mob.
And don't mess with the mob. Also, the mob's here in Arizona.
That makes it even better.
I'm just saying, okay? You'll find out what I mean when I do the Tucson series. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been rage baiting Willow. She's been trying to clean her tail, and I've been putting my hand in front of her tongue.
Chocolate.
Do we got Starburst back there?
I don't know.
I want me some Starburst.
Oh, hey, there we are. Okay.
Give me the.
I'm just gonna. ASMR.
Oh, I'm sorry. I rage baited Willow. She yelled at me.
We got these from work.
Yes, we did.
So.
Are you going to separate them?
No, I'm just going to put all the candy in a baggie. Ooh, I get the York.
Fuck. I call the Starburst.
Yeah, that's why you're getting the York. You call the Starburst.
So we're going to start with the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It's not called St. Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day Massacre. I was originally going to do this on St. Valentine because that's an interesting story.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about... Ooh, yeah. I love me a Starburst. Do you want to bribe me into doing anything? Bribe me with the Starburst. So the Valentine's Day Massacre is a famous mob story that happened, and it is one of the most notorious events in organized crime history. Now, I'm not going to do my normal in-depth because I don't want to talk about 9 different victims in depth like I usually do. This case is particularly long, and I was tired. This was kind of my break in writing. This was like my little easy...
Which I'm glad we're doing it now because I have to go get John.
Yeah. So, it's a little side quest for me. I'm just going to focus on the event, not the people involved, because that will be as long as Jack the Ripper. So, I'm just going to talk about history and not just I'm going to talk a little bit about the crime, but I just want to talk about history. So,
and at some point, I'll stop making noise.
And at some point, I'll chew the Starburst. So, the massacre happened in 1929, and there were 7 men who were murdered on this day.
I'm going to try this.
7 men killed. Oh. In fact, the wall where they were shot is still up. The area where they were shot.
Ah, the concrete wall.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that's the one that's in the museum?
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen this on Zach
Bagans. I think that's the wall, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's the wall.
It's the wall because Zach Bagans goes there because they do a show. Side note, they do a show on Ghost Adventures, and they go to where the wall is in the museum of the massacre.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I'm not mistaken. So again, this is a mob story. So in 1929, the mob was in all major cities, mainly because of prohibition. Remember the 18th Amendment that made the buying and selling of liquor illegal, and it was made illegal, but people still wanted it, so there was a really high demand. So the mob was like,
hence the speakeasies.
Yeah, and the mob was also like, you know what? This is a really good business opportunity. And they're not wrong. They made a crap ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
So there's such a high demand, and the mob is like, this is a great job opportunity, and so they also began to get power from it because they were providing liquor, not just for the poor and the everyday people, but also for those in power. So they were able to blackmail people and get what they wanted. So despite the idea there was organized crime before so despite the idea that there was no organized crime before prohibition, that's completely false. There was organized crime before prohibition. It just bloomed in popularity after prohibition began. It was a perfect storm for the mob, actually.
That's why you kind of see some shows of the whole liquor thing with moonshiners
Yeah.
and how they walk through the process. What baffles me is they have this show called Moonshiners. These people are making illegal liquor and they're showing it on TV.
Well, moonshine is no longer illegal.
That's okay then. Makes sense.
The illegal part is with moonshine, you can't rein in the ABV,
Yeah.
the alcohol content. So you are not supposed to sell it. Because if somebody dies because there's too much alcohol in it,
Yeah, makes sense.
so you're not allowed to sell it. You can make it, but you're not allowed to sell it.
Because they had holes. Somebody shot holes in their tank in one of the episodes. I'm like, oh, that sucks. These people are making moonshine probably just for themselves. But
And for their friends and family.
yeah, they shot holes in their, whoever it was shot the holes in their tank.
So
Okay.
it's kind of like also like the cartels. When you ban something, there's going to be groups who use that to use a business opportunity. It is capitalism.
Pablo Escobar.
Exactly.
For a chance.
You ban drugs, you make.
He found any way possible to get it here in the United States. And if you've never seen Narcos, do watch it.
Actually, I think there is a country in South America that decriminalized drug use, but made it a medical issue. So people stopped going to jail for being drug abusers, and instead were able to get medical treatment. And if they were, let's say they were addicted to like Oxycontin and all that other stuff,
Yep.
they could get the prescription, but it would be managed by a doctor. Is it really sour?
It hit this side of my mouth. Oh. I'll eat sour candy. Don't judge me.
So they decriminalized it and they made it a health crisis instead, which has helped their police because their police is not being like thrown into different areas, and also it has lessened like cartel crimes because it's legal.
I'm just not going to say nothing on that note.
What were you gonna say?
Come on, Erica. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I think Oregon tried to do it, but then you cannot in America, as much as I hate to say it,
I mean,
if you wanted
pot.
if you wanted to do it, you would have to do it for the whole country and get the whole country on the same page. You could not just do
Which
it once.
you won't.
And you can't do it one state at a time.
No, you'd have to.
There'll be too many issues with one state at a time. They were a small country, so they were able to do it universally all at the same time. They were able to get the infrastructure.
I can't say nothing.
America's just too big.
They legalized pot, so who cares?
Yeah. So now, because the mob bloomed in popularity, there was a level of violence that had never been seen before. There was a study that calculated the homicide rate in Chicago, and it rose about 21% during Prohibition.
Wow.
Yeah, so it rose a lot. The Chicago Crime Commission said there were 729 gang-affiliated murders in Cook County, Illinois between 1919 and 1935. 15% of murders, basically was 15% of murders in the area.
Oh, wow.
So there was a lot of violence happening. There was a gang called the North Side Gang, and it was led by George Bugs Morin. The North Side Gang. Yeah. The North Side Gang was the second most powerful organized crime group in Chicago, behind the Chicago Outfit that had Johnny Torrio and Al Capone.
And Al Capone was a major
gangster.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about, So on the North Side gang, they ran similar businesses, and so that meant there was a lot of bad blood between the Chicago outfit and the North Side gang.
Mm.
And Hyman Weiss, the leader of the North Side gang, tried to kill the second in command of the Chicago outfits, who was Al Capone.
Dumbass. You're messing with the wrong person.
On January 12th, Weiss shot in Capone's car and wounded the driver, but Capone got away. After Weiss died, Morone rose to the top and became the leader of the North Side gang. On September 20th, 1926, Capone was living on 2 floors of the Hawthorne Hotel, and while he was in the hotel dining room, Capone wanted to see what the commotion was because there was a commotion going on outside the hotel.
Yeah.
But his bodyguard Frank Rio pushed him down. The commotion was a man on the running board of a car firing blanks from a machine gun into the air.
Tommy gun?
Kind of, yeah.
Sorry.
10 cars drove.
Like we're gonna do it, we gotta say it right.
10 cars drove by the hotel firing machine guns and shotguns into the building and the cars up front. There were no deaths, but a woman did get glass splinters in her eye.
Oh.
Yeah, Al Capone paid her medical bills to the tune of $10,000.
Did she go blind or?
I don't know. It didn't say, but it did say he paid her medical bills.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Yeah, that was something I will say, mobsters. It was very much my business is with between you and me. You bring somebody into it, that there's an even bigger problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rival gangs hated each other, but they actually maintained a business arrangement. Al Capone would bring in liquor and sell it to Morons, and they would buy it from them. And there was this business arrangement. They hated each other, but they had an arrangement.
Yeah.
Capitalism. You can hate somebody,
but you make some money off of them.
If you make money off of them, you work with them. There are different stories about what happened, but some believe that on February 13th, Morin received a phone call offering a truck of hijacked Purple Gang whiskey, which Morins would actually buy from Capone.
Yeah.
So Capone would buy this Purple Gang whiskey and sell it to Morins. Well, the story goes that he tried to buy his own version of the Purple Gang whiskey, a cheaper version. It didn't do so well in the speakeasies.
Well, I bet.
So we had to go back to Capone and tell him, you know what?
Give me some good stuff.
Give me the good stuff. So Morins told the caller to drop it off at a garage at 2122 North Clark Street in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. William J. Helmer and Arthur J. Blake were the ones who were believed to receive the truck. But where it gets a little weird is that they were in expensive suits, ones that you wouldn't use to unload a truck.
Okay.
The idea is also changed because some of the men that were there in the building to receive the truck were considered to be the best killers.
Okay.
And it was said that they were planning on meeting Morin because he'd been shot and they were losing territory in Capone. So Morin had been shot previously.
Okay.
And they were meeting because he had been shot and
trying to cover what they were losing.
And what they were losing, there was also talk that they were going to oust him.
Oh.
Yeah,
dun, dun, dun.
Because he's losing ground to Al Capone. He's not doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
So on Valentine's Day, 7 men were in the garage waiting for the truck, and Morin and his members, so there was talk that they were figuring it all out, and Morin was there, and his members, Willie Mark and Ted Newberry, were running late.
Yeah.
The 7 men were Albert Callick, a.k.a. James Clark, Morin's second in command and brother-in-law. Adam Heyer, the bookkeeper and business manager. Albert Winshank, who managed several cleaning and dyeing operations for Morin. Gang enforcers, Frank Gusenberg and his brother Pete. And 2 non-gang members were present, Reinhard Schwimmer, a former optician turned gambler, and John May, a mechanic at the garage who had brought his dog Highball with him. I'm going to name my next dog Highball.
That's different.
That's a different name. You don't hear
want
people...
your dog be a male with 1 highball. It would justify the name. Sorry, future pet.
So May was fixing the wheel of the truck, and between 10:30 and 10:35, a black Cadillac pulled up outside the garage. The driver and passenger wore police uniforms, and 3 men in the back wore civilian outfits. They exited the car, went into the garage. Now, Morin drove past shortly afterward and saw that what he thought was a police car, car. And he went around the corner for a cup of coffee to avoid what he thought was a raid. He thought that the place was being raided.
Yeah.
The 7 men in the garage were forced to line up against the wall while he's leaving.
Mhm.
And the assailants then shot them in the back with Tommy guns. The shooting was methodical, though, with fire directed along the line of men, 3 at a time. Head level, chest level, and stomach level.
Oh, wow.
70 rounds were fired, and 1 from a sawed-off shotgun.
Jeez.
The mercy shot was fired at Clark and May with the shotgun. The gunmen left by the front door, 2 in civilian clothes holding their hands above their head, were followed by the 2 police officers holding the machine guns as if they were arresting them. Neighbors were alerted of the massacre and called the police. When they arrived, the police found six dead men and 1 Frank Gusenberg still alive. He crawled 20 feet from where he had been shot, despite having been hit multiple times.
Wow.
He was taken to the hospital and he was interviewed by Sergeant Clarence Sweeney of the police department. And they asked him, "Who shot you?" And he responded with, "No one shot me."
Wow.
Sweeney then said, "Frank, Pete's dead and you're in a bad way. Who shot you?" Gusenberg said, "No one shot me." And he died shortly after.
They took it to his grave.
Yeah. Now, this caused a reaction that had lasting consequences. Newspapers covered the massacre, selling millions of copies. It caused widespread shock. When Morin heard about the murders, he checked into St. Francis Hospital for 4 days under an alias. He sent a message to John Egan, the head of detectives, and he said, "I don't know who did the attack or what brought it on. We're facing an enemy in the dark."
Mm.
A reporter tracked Morin to the hospital, and Morin told him, "Only Capone kills like that."
Causing Capone to get in trouble.
A grand jury was convened on March 12th to hear about bootlegging in the city, and Capone was subpoenaed to appear.
Wow.
He claims he was sick and needed Florida's weather to get better. The FBI investigated got affidavits saying Capone was out and about and he did not seem sick. And based on the evidence, a judge said he needed to be there. March 19th, the testimony was postponed to the 20th, when Capone was questioned for an hour before he admitted he hadn't paid income taxes from illegal money, but suggested he could make a deal to split any difference he had with the government and pay the salary of several prohibition officers for a year or 2.
Wow.
He was scheduled to make a second appearance, but after that it was determined no further testimony was needed and he was free to go. Now, how did the investigation go? Within hours of the shooting, Chicago's district police, the city's detective bureau, the Illinois Attorney General's office, and the coroner's office under Herman Budson all opened separate investigations, which operated largely independent from one another. The situation was confused by an announcement from the Chicago Deputy Prohibition Administrator, Major Frederick D. Silloway, that the police had undertaken the killings, though he retracted his statements later that day, and several newspapers carried headlines that stated the police was involved in the shooting.
Oh, because of the 2 people that were dressed as police.
They could have been police for all they know.
Yeah.
The day after the massacre, the coroner ordered a reenactment, which was held at the garage. They kept in line with the known events as far as possible, including having Highball the dog present. Instead of a coroner's jury, Budson assembled a panel of unimpeachable Chicagoans to assist, headed up by Bert Massey, the president of the Colgate Palm Olive Peat Company. Plainclothes police and one of the reporters present played the roles of the victims. Other police lined up as the gunmen, each holding a shotgun. Bunsen formally opened his inquest the same day. Massey contacted Galvin Goodard, a pioneer in forensic ballistics, and paid him to set up a laboratory in Chicago with his team and his equipment. He soon began examining shell casings and bullets from the scene. He also examined the Thompson machine guns owned by the Chicago police and stated that their weapons had not been used in the shooting. Police began house to house questioning of residents and shop owners. At 2051 North Clark, the rooming house opposite the garage, they spoke with the proprietress, Minnie Ardfison, and she described two men who claimed to be taxi drivers that had taken a room at the front of the house overlooking the garage. They were later identified as Brian Bolton and James Jimmy the Suede Moran, or possibly Jimmy McCresson, the
Mm.
lookouts. A second landlady, Miss Michael Duty of 2119 North Clark, provided details of what turned out to be another possible lookout. They also claimed to be a taxi driver who would arrive at the house each day at 9 a.m. and was joined by two other men around 9:30 a.m. They would leave around 3 p.m. She was shown photographs of possible suspects and identified Harry Keywall, a member of the Purple Gang. When he was later questioned, Keywall provided a solid alibi for his activities on the date and time of the shooting. Police also raided many of the speakeasies, including the Chicago outfits, and which resulted in a considerable loss of income. On February 22nd, 1929, police were called to the scene of a garage fire on Wood Street where they found a partially disassembled and burned 1927 Cadillac sedan.
Oh,
Saws, an axe, and an acetylene torch had been used in dismantling the vehicle. A police siren was laying in the corner, and a burnt hat and coat were on the floor. They also found a Thompson drum magazine and a Luger pistol. Inquiries turned up at a nearby doctor's office when a man with burns had asked for treatment. When he was told to wait, he left. A brick wall is so several red circles
mhm.
are present around indentations caused by bullet holes. So, um, da, 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 da. The car had been they started to look at the car, right?
Right.
And the car had been purchased secondhand in Chicago on December 15th, 1928, by James Morton of Los Angeles, California, who paid $350 for it.
Gonna go back to them car prices.
Yeah.
Dang.
The Los Angeles Police Department failed to provide any possible leads as to who the man's identity was.
Okay.
Police established that the garage had been rented by a man calling himself Frank Rogers, who gave his address as 1859 West North Avenue. This was an annex to the Circus Cafe,
Okay.
um, which was operated by the neighboring premise by Claude Maddox, a gangster with ties to Capone. After searching one of Maddox's office, police found a connection with activities to St. Louis, Missouri. The counterparts were told them that criminals had disguised themselves in police uniforms to commit crimes on several occasions.
Wow.
So, uh, the best known perpetrator of all of this, of using like dressing as a police officer,
Yeah.
was Fred Burke, a member of the city's Egan Rats crime gang. Burke was described as missing a front tooth and had a partner in crime who went by the name of James Ray, an alias of Gus Winkler. One of the witnesses who saw the fake police car outside the North Clark Street gang was the chauffeur of H. Wallace Caldwell, president of the Chicago Board of Education. He had noticed the police driver was missing a front tooth. Egan's Rat left St. Louis in the mid 1920s and became associated with the Purple Gang of Detroit, which had business connections with Capone. Police soon named Burke as a suspect. On February 27th, a second vehicle, a 1926 Peerless touring car, was blown up at the junction of First Street and Harvard Avenue in Chicago's Mayward suburb. Again, a police siren was found at the scene with shotgun shells of the same brand used in the massacre, license plates bearing the same prefix as used by the Chicago Detective Squad, and a small notebook belonging to Weinshank, one of the massacre victims. Police considered the second car and the items a plant to disrupt their investigation.
Mm.
Keefe, Keefe considers the discovery of the second vehicle gives credibility to the possibility of two cars having been used in the massacre. As Capone was in Florida at the time of the shooting, William Russell, Chicago's police commissioner, ordered an investigation of the other members of the Chicago outfit. On the same day, the Peerless was blown up. Police arrested Jack McGurn at Chicago Stevens Hotel, where he and his girlfriend were staying under the names Mr. and Mrs. Dioro. His girlfriend provided his alibi and said that they had spent Valentine's Day together in a hotel room.
Okay.
Um, Others were members of the Capone gang. Were arrested, and they had also been arrested previously and acquitted for murdering a police officer.
Yeah.
Um, so they were all charged with the murders. So McGurn, Anselmi, and Scalise, who were workers with Capone, had previously been charged for killing police officers and were acquitted.
Yeah.
They were charged with the murder, but then
Okay.
the charges were dropped because there was no evidence.
Okay.
Capone soon heard that Scalise and Lemmy had met with Joe Aioli, a longtime rival of Capone's with whom he had a feud, and that Joe Guinta was present. The Capone heard that the men were plotting to assassinate him and take over his territory. Capone was really pissed at this,
Well, I would be too.
and so he invited the three to dinner in their honor at the plantation, a Capone-owned roadhouse. And during the evening, Capone used a cut-down baseball bat to murder all three before
Jeez.
he and his men shot the corpses.
Good Okay, I did not know that about Al Capone. I know that he shot people. Did not know about the baseball bat.
Yeah, he beat them to death with a baseball
All
bat.
right, Negan.
Yeah. Um, the bodies were found on May 8th, 7 sets of rounds, one from each of the victims. Bullet fragments recovered from the victims' bodies. On May 13th, Capone attended a meeting of crime lords in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Many of the leaders were concerned by the publicity caused by the massacre and increased levels of official interest in their business. There was some also anger about the deaths of three Sicilian hitmen, Anselmi, Scalise, and Quinta. The bosses put pressure on Capone to lower his profile by spending a short time in prison. Leaving Atlantic City, Capone and his bodyguards stopped off in Philadelphia, where they were arrested by two police officers whom Capone knew, James Malone and John Creedon. Within 16 hours, he had been charged, appeared in court, found guilty, and sentenced to a year in prison
Hmm.
due to tax evasion.
Oh, not killing people, but tax fraud.
The massacre case stagnated until December 1929 when Fred Burke, drunk, drove into another car in St. Joseph, Michigan. Patrolman Charles Skelly intervened.
Mhm.
Burke shot him 3 times and drove off.
God.
Skelly died 3 hours later. Police raided Burke's bungalow and found $310,000 in bonds, recently stolen from a Wisconsin bank, 2 Thompson machine guns and 9 ammunition drums, 6 tear gas bombs, 2 rifles, and a sawed-off shotgun,
And a partridge in a pear tree.
and an estimated 5,000 rounds of ammunition.
That's kind of like you were reading off the 12 Days of Christmas. Good Lord.
The weapons were forensically examined. They were identified as those used in the massacre.
Wow.
Police also discovered that one of them had also been used in a murder in the New York mobster Frankie Yale 18 months earlier. No further evidence surfaced relating to the massacre. Burke was captured in March 1931. The case against him was strongest in connection to the murder of Skelly, so he was tried in Michigan for that crime and subsequently sentenced to life in prison. He died in prison in 1940. On November 17, 1931, Budson closed his inquest and said, "All who are under suspicion are now dead, save one." He, Burke, had received a life penitentiary sentence. His final report concluded that the killings were by persons unknown.
Oh, wow.
In January 1935, Brian Bolton, previously identified as a possible lookout opposite the garage at the time of the massacre, was arrested on a matter unrelated to the Valentine's Day Massacre. Questioned by the FBI, he provided full details relating to the murder. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover
Nice.
reported the details to Assistant Attorney General Joseph B. Keenan in a memorandum. Bolton stated that the persons who actually perpetrated the massacre were Fred Goetz, Gus Winkler, Fred Burke, Ray Nugent, and Bob Carey. Bolton stated he personally purchased the Cadillac touring car which was used in the massacre, having been furnished with the money to make his purchases by Louis Lipschultz. Bolton identified Capone as having given the order to kill Moran to take over his territory. When the killers were in the garage, none of them knew what Moran looked like, so rather than risk the possibility of missing Moran, killed all of the persons found in the garage.
Oh, wow.
Warren was never in the garage.
Oops. You missed.
They didn't know what he looked like.
Wow.
Um,
Back then, they don't have cell phones to send pictures.
yeah. So Bolton denied taking part in the murders, and the list of names match those provided in the 1934 memoirs of Gus Winkler's widow, Georgette. Jonathan Eig disputes Bolton's confession and states the two people listed had alibis. He goes on to say that the plot involved too many people to kill just to kill Morin. Then one person could have waited outside the target house to kill him, and once having missed, it was likely that Capone would not try again. Instead, Eek thinks that most likely the suspect is three-fingered Jack White, a vicious killer who had previously disfigured himself as police officer to committing a murder. So he disguised himself as a police officer to commit a murder, and he was a brutal murder.
Mm.
White's motive was that his cousin had been murdered by the Gusenberg brothers. Accusation of White's possible role in the murders had been contained in a letter sent to Hoover by Frank T. Farrell, a Chicago resident. So basically, no. The criminologists Arthur J. Lorigo and John J. Binder believe the letter from Farrell to be problematic, and therefore so is the Farrell assertion. They observe that many of the names and dates in Farrell's theory are incorrect, including the probable identity of his cousin's murderer. The biggest weakness in the theory of White as one of the murderers is that he was incarcerated in Cook County Jail between March 1926 and July 1929.
Oh, jeez.
So how could he kill a person if he's in jail?
Just pay somebody to do it from the outside.
I guess. The criminologist Arthur J. Bleak concludes that Tony Arcotto, a member of the Chicago outfit, was one of the gunmen in the team assembled by Jack McGurn, and that the other gunmen were Burke, Winkler, Goetz, and Carey.
Yeah.
Bleak considers this marked as the start of Arcotto's rise to him eventually leading the Chicago outfit.
Yeah.
Conflict between the North Side Gang and the Chicago outfit continued until 1930-1931, when Capone's gang eventually took over their neighbor territory. In June 1931, Capone was indicted on 22 counts of income tax fraud. His trial took place in October 1931. He was found guilty and sentenced to 11 years in prison. That was wrong. That 1 year in prison must have been for a minor crime.
And he wasn't in Alcatraz.
Yes.
He was put in Alcatraz because they still have. You can go. I will never go on a little bitty boat on rocky water to Alcatraz.
Yeah.
But you can go into Alcatraz, no joke, and they still have his cell set up because with him being in Alcatraz, his was, even though what we think of as lavish, they didn't have a whole lot of lavish things back then. But for him being the mobster gangster that he
It was lavish.
it was lavish. A little couch, and it's a beautiful couch, by the way. It was one of those extravagant old time couches. The bed, he had a lamp. I believe he even had a chair and had books.
He also had a desk.
Yeah, he also had a desk that he could write on. But I also know in Ghost Adventures, again, you can go on to Ghost Adventures, and I think it's called the Valentines Day Massacre thing, or where they go for it. And hear what Zach has to say, that the person that does the tour and gives the tour and goes to Al Capone's, they say that he was driven mad while he was in jail because of all the people. He kept seeing people that he had killed, and they were haunting him. I was like, well, dude, you kind of deserve the haunt because of what you did.
You killed a bunch of people. So the violence meted out by the Tommy machine guns during the gangster activities in the 1920s, in particular the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the machine gun-led activities of John Dillinger, and the death of Chicago Mayor Anton Cermak during an assassination attempt on President-elect Franklin D. Roosevelt. Yeah, there was an assassination attempt with the Tommy gun on Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Wow.
Led Roosevelt after his inauguration to propose a bill to regulate the sales of handguns and machine guns.
Thank you, Roosevelt.
The bill, the National Firearms Act of 1934, was not passed.
Damn.
Eventually, Congress removed the handgun restrictions and the bill became law.
Yeah.
It levied a $200 tax on every machine gun, which doubled the cost of the weapons, and created a licensing system for dealers that required an annual fee of $200.
Oh wow.
The garage at 2122 North Clark Street was demolished in 1967, and the site later became a lawn.
Nice.
The bricks of the north wall against which the victims were shot was purchased by a Canadian businessman. For many years, they were shown in various crime related novelty displays. Many of them were later sold individually, and as of 2025, the remainder are owned by the Mob Museum in Las Vegas.
Yep.
In addition to news and historical coverage, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre and its aftermath have been described or referenced in books, including histories of what happened, on screen movies,
Yep.
TV shows,
Ghost
virtually
Adventures.
everywhere.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I think one of these days I'm just going to do a thing on Al Capone because
He's pretty interesting.
Al Capone is
But
Al Capone.
yes.
I mean, the fact that he literally beat a man with a baseball bat, three men with baseball bats. When I wrote this, I was not aware that he had done that.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, so he was pretty brutal in his own right.
Yeah, he's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I kind of like Al Capone.
yeah.
Not for the
He's,
fact of what he did, but
you know
he's
what? He
interesting.
was a good businessman, though.
Mm-hmm. He can help people. Well,
He was a capitalist through and through.
but like you said, though, he would help people.
Yeah,
He's
I,
kind of like he's nothing like Pablo Escobar. But again, if you watch Narcos and you see what
I think
he
it's.
was doing, if you Pablo Escobar loved the people.
Mm-hmm,
He loved, and when you watch the show, you see it.
mm-hmm.
He loved his family more. He loved his kids, but he did love the people. Mind you, there is nudity, sexual content, murder,
Also,
all
the
drug, all
way
that stuff.
that I will say this, I have never understood why they called cartels cartels and not mobs. They run a very similar organization. The
Yeah,
only thing I can think of is cartels are primarily Mexican.
well, if you think about it, down in Juarez, even my mama said down in Juarez and down in Mexico, that's what they are, cartels,
But
because it's
that's
in Mexico.
the thing. Why don't we in the United States just refer to them as mobs?
Maybe that's not what they want to be called.
Maybe, I don't know. But
It,
they run very mob alike.
it's like maybe they sit there and say no. Maybe they tried at one point to call them a mob, and then the cartel like you will not call us that, or we will threaten. They probably
Yeah.
threatened at some point. You do not call us that. We are a cartel, and that's what you will remain. You will
Yeah.
continue to call us.
All I know is because they have a very, very similar business structure, I will say.
Yeah, don't doubt it.
They trade in what is not commonly purchased.
Yeah, true. Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to know more about Capone.
Yeah.
I want to learn more about the mobsters.
Capone and the mobs are
We might have
interesting.
to do a month
Of mobsters.
of mobsters just to see. We might have to do one to where also, because I know we're trying to mix it up too this year as well. After we get moved, we get settled, we do all this stuff. Um, I was thinking about it too that maybe we pick the one person.
Mm-hmm.
You pick somebody that you were interested in growing up. I pick somebody else, and I'm not talking like Edgar Allan Poe,
Mm-hmm.
Or anybody like that. Like I keep getting told by my relatives that Andrew Jackson
Mm-hmm.
is in our family, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, okay. um, maybe just that one person that we got an interest in, that we grew an interest in growing up. Because I remember doing reports and stuff in school, and I did it on Harry S. Truman
See,
and
mine
things like
wouldn't
that.
be a person. Mine would be a folk saying.
See, I have too many that I like. Poe he's number one on my list, but I also like a lot of fantasy
See,
characters. So if I had to pick someone, yes, we know I like vampires. So Dracula would be another one. If I had to pick somebody, I would say Sherlock Holmes. Just because I know he's a fictional person, a fictional character, but
I will say, the author of Sherlock Holmes did get some of his ideas from actual detectives.
Yeah. And Sherlock Holmes just seems it just seems interesting, you know. And maybe one of these times we do like a podcast on a celebrity that we like, that we look up to or admire. I have way too many on that one too.
I don't. I know it's weird to say. I don't have a lot of celebrities that I look up to admire because to me they're human,
Yeah,
and so I'm just like, okay, they're just a person.
yeah.
Now, if they do some messed up things, I'm gonna be like, hey, my guy, you have a platform. You're not supposed to do that.
If I had to pick a celebrity, I have a lot. Love Keanu Reeves. Love his work. Seen everything he was in except for Bill and Ted's. I am not mushing my brain for that fucking movie. That movie, I have tried to watch it and I can't. I'm sorry, Keanu, I can't. It makes me stupid. It makes my brain hurt when I try to watch it, so I've never seen it. So I like what he does and the fact that he takes his money and he gives it to people behind the scenes who
Mhm.
does, to me, deserve more money because they're, yes, he's
Doing the
putting in the effort, but they're doing the hard work
yeah,
of it
they're
all.
doing the heavy lifting.
And then yes, I love Pedro. Pedro, just love Pedro. Um, but if I had to pick an actor, Sylvester Stallone. And the reason for Sylvester Stallone is because the man wrote Rocky. Love the Rocky movies. I could be in a nursing home and you probably come in and visit and that's what I'd be freaking watching. Love those movies. But when you learn the story behind him and behind those, you'd be surprised.
And I know it's weird to say, the people that it's not that I look up to them, it's
I
the
admire.
ones that are interesting for me
Yeah,
are the ones I'm doing right now. Are the serial killers.
yeah.
Simply because
What is their brain thinking?
brain chemistry, my
Yeah.
freaking
I think mine, I think understanding that point for you, it's the brain chemistry behind it. I think the reason why I like so many actors like Sylvester Stallone, why I like him so much is he never gave up on what he wanted to do. And sitting here is like, oh my God, I would like, I'm not big in front of cameras. I don't like being in front of camera, but I'm in my own house.
mhm.
So I'm comfortable. If we're out and about, I don't put the camera on myself. I don't like it. So he kind of gives me the courage to step out of my comfort zone, even if it's in my own house, to do things like this. You know, so if I had to pick, he's one person I still have not met. As everybody on Facebook knows, I got to meet Sting. That was the best thing in the world. Besides Shawn Michaels, we won't discuss that one. That one was kind of awful in a good way. But meeting, I don't want to call Sting my idol because you're not supposed to have any idols
Mhm.
before God, right? I would have to say, I don't know what I would call it for Sting.
Hero,
Yeah, I would
someone you
say
look
he's
up to.
like he's somebody I looked up to since the age of 5. And I told John, I was like, God, I need to meet him before we move. What if he comes this way? No joke. Like that same few days later, and I go, John. He's like, and I go, you will never guess who's going to be up in Phoenix, and it was Sting. He goes, no way. And I'm like, it's a free event. You didn't have to pay for the event. Yes, you had to pay for the photo. I don't care if the photo would have been $100. I would have paid $100 to meet that hero that I admired and watched. And just, but hearing people walk up and they're like, hey, can you sign this? Hey, can you sign this? Hey, can you sign this? And I'm all like, okay, this is awesome. I'm grinning, but I'm also nervous because I start playing with my hands, but I'm excited. But being able to meet your hero, I'd have to say him and Sylvester Stallone would be my two heroes because neither one of them ever gave up on what they did in life. And that kind of gives me that the courage to do the same thing. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit doing podcasts and being live because of maybe what people might say.
Mhm.
But just walking up to him and, I'm shaking and I just tell him, thank you. Nobody talked to him. And I just stopped and I said, thank you. And then John chiming in the back goes, she's watched you since she was 5. And the lady doing the photo, she's all, what? Like, yeah, I'm watching you. It was nice. It was awesome to meet your hero and who you like. So I think maybe we do a month of like heroes,
Mm-hmm.
like to where, and it doesn't have to be like the 4th of July, July or June, anything like that to where it's based around like the 4th of July or anything. Maybe just pick a month where we pick somebody.
Yeah.
We do heroes. And it could even be like a police officer here, that we might like, or my brother in law when we move. If he's willing to come on, he doesn't have to.
I think the hero, like for example, when I was in college and I was studying criminal justice, um, I had a professor.
Mm,
He was criminology 101 at the University of Arizona is a weed out course.
mm,
University of Arizona has weed out courses,
mm.
which is basically it's the beginning to the class and they make it extremely difficult on purpose
Okay.
to make sure that the people who are wanting to do the career are willing to put in the effort. That it's not a career that's, oh, I just want to study criminal justice because I think this is going to be an easy study.
See, I went to do criminal justice, but I did it at Pima.
Yeah, at the U of A though, they have
It's different. Okay.
because most of the time when people study criminal justice, they then go to law school. So U of A's criminal justice program is specifically made to lead you into law school.
Oh wow.
And so I had a professor, and he was one of my favorite professors. We only had 4 grades in the whole class. We had 3 test exams,
Mm-hmm.
not including the final.
Okay.
So 4 exams: the first test, the second test, the midterm, and then the final. And then we had 1 homework assignment, and that was because he had to leave. He used to work as he worked for the federal government,
Mm-hmm.
but he was not like an actual federal agent. What he did was he was sent in the courts by the courts to go into police precincts and fix the precincts from their corruption from within.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
he would have to call out because, as much as I hate to say it, Maricopa County, they had somebody in charge of Maricopa County who caused a lot of problems. I don't know if you know Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Oh, I've heard about him. Yeah.
There has been a lot of issues happened in the police precinct because of him. One of the most common was the news at any point can go up to a police precinct and go, "Hey, I want the logs for your police officers,"
Yeah.
because police officers have to log where they've been and what they've been doing. And the news can go in and say, "Hey, I want your logs. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see where officer so and so was from this time to this time."
Yeah.
Maricopa County was not doing that.
Mm.
Nobody was signing in. So he had to get them to start signing in. He had to get them, they did not originally have body cams. They were completely opposed to body cams. He had to get them into body cams and get them used to the program, and then create a program where randomly they would check body cam footage to make sure that the officers, and it had to be 100% random. It could not be,
Oh, I'm gonna pick on George.
yeah, it couldn't be, I'm going to pick George every time because I know he's a good officer.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be random. It's not just supposed to be random, though. It's if you have officers with more complaints, you check those officers more than you do with the ones without complaints.
Mm.
Because if there's complaints, what's the saying? Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
If there's complaints, you need to check to make sure
Yeah.
that it's not just, especially if it's multiple people doing.
Phone texting.
No,
Oh, okay.
just stupid things. Um, I get the report from the independent news agencies,
Oh, okay.
and remember that thing I told you about the training
Yeah.
and how it's because of
Yeah.
it
That's
popped up
coming
that
up.
news story. Yeah, the notification finally caught up.
Like, hello.
You're a little late. I read you at noon today. Um,
Oh, sorry, Hermione. She jumped. Hey, Moo Moo.
but he would go in, and when he was very focused on Supreme Court
Yeah.
Supreme Court cases, and I could tell you when I was in school, it's been years. I think I started school in 2017, and I was taking this class in 2017, 2018,
Yeah. I'm gonna put this up.
I could list off every major Supreme Court case. I could name the court case, I could name the year, I could name the reasoning for the court case determination.
Yeah.
Because his tests were not open book, were not open note. He did not have a textbook. All he had were his PowerPoints. And he would put a small summary on the PowerPoint and he would explain more in class. And you had to study the PowerPoint. That was your study piece.
Oh wow.
And that was it.
Would he upload the PowerPoint so you can
He
get
would
it?
upload the PowerPoint. But he was like, remember, I could tell you something in this class and if might be on the test. You
So
can't
best
just
be taking good notes.
And I would swear, on days we would have a test, there would be so many students I had never seen before sitting in the class because most people again assumed because it's a 102 class, a
Yeah.
101 class, it's going to be the easiest class in the world. It was not. When he first gave the class, he sat down. He goes, "I have very rarely had anyone get A's in my class."
Wow.
He goes, "Virtually no one gets A's in my class." Now, if you know me, I'm going to take that as a challenge. And I was not the only
He's
one.
not wrong.
He found that first test he gave to the class. I got 100% on it, plus an extra credit point, so I got 105% on it. And then the second test,
You sit next to her.
I got a 97% on the test.
Wow.
And then the third test, I got 105 again. When it came to the final, I had his class, and then I had a health management, government management class, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had his class before theirs, and I had his final before their final. I got an email the night before the final saying, even if you fail this exam, you're still getting an A. Just don't show up to class, please. I don't want to grade your test. I know you'll get 100.
So he let you pass without taking.
Well, I would no. I still got an A in the class even without taking a final.
So well, that's what I'm saying is he told you not to show up
because
to
he didn't
not take the final.
Yeah, because he didn't want to grade. Because he knew I would do so well.
I mean, damn, you proved his ass wrong. I got challenge accepted.
I then went to class, the next class, the final for the next
Yeah.
class, and people who were in that class were also in this one. They're like, "Where were you? You missed that final." And I was like, "Yeah, I overslept." I'm not gonna tell you that he told me not to come.
Yeah, because then that's like favoritism right there.
So, well, no. Apparently, he sent the email to one other girl in the class because the girl also had the same kind of determination. And he's like, "You are the only two students I have ever sent that email to."
Oh wow. Smarty pants.
Hey, I can still recite that one time. Search warrants.
Yeah.
You have to have a viable search warrant because I think it was, oh God, I think it was in Virginia. They were searching for this dude, right? And they knocked on this door and they're like, "You have this gentleman in the house," and she's like, "No, I don't, and you're also not allowed in my house because you don't have a warrant." And they were like, "Yeah, we do. Here's the warrant. Look." And then they just moved the paper, right? Didn't have a warrant. It was just a blank piece of paper.
She fell for it though, didn't she?
No, they just went inside the house anyway. They pushed through
Right.
because they said, "Look, we have a warrant." Didn't have a warrant. Searched the property. Now this was in the 70s. Porn at the time was illegal. So they look open and they find a bunch of it, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna charge you with it." She got released with prejudice, so she couldn't be charged again because and it was Supreme Court case ruled that basically you can't do that.
Yeah. You gotta have a search warrant, ding dong.
Not even you have to have a search warrant. If you go in and search a house and you find that, like, let's say you're given bad information and you find a criminal activity happening in the house with that warrant,
Yeah.
you can't use that information.
It will be inadmissible in court.
It's inadmissible. So, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the Supreme Court has changed the rules because they've changed a couple of things recently. But yeah. So that was one of my heroes. Hearing that he would go into police precincts and fix
The corruption that was happening.
the corruption that was happening.
Wow.
Was something I was like, damn. And to hear it was federally enforced.
Yeah,
That's nice. That gave me faith in the justice system.
until recently.
Yeah, and then I started reading these cases, and now I have a little less faith in the justice system.
Again.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that's it's people who I've met along the way
Yeah.
that have become essentially heroes and people I look up to.
Yeah. I think I'd have to throw my dad into the mix.
But yeah, that was the Valentine's Day Massacre. Happy Valentine's, everyone.
Yes,
It's gonna
happy
be
Valentine's.
on
I think I put it for the
it'll
next
be on
week.
Saturday. So it'll be
The week of the 8th, I think.
yeah, it's the week of the 8th. It's a Saturday.
November 8th.
Yeah. So happy Valentine's Day,
Yes.
everyone. Early Valentine's Day. Remember, get your partner something. Even if it's something small, show you care, show you're thinking
Even
of them.
if they don't want anything.
Even if they don't want anything. They may say they don't want anything, but in reality, they do.
They're lying.
In reality, they want a giant pink dragon.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. If you're watching this and you know who you are, you know what I want.
I'm that weird one. John bought me last year a bouquet of Chucky and the Bride of Chucky.
The only reason I want that dragon is because it is so huge.
Yeah.
I want it. It's
And
just so fluffy.
And he went to my son on that one. My son
Yeah.
had to tell him what to get me for Valentine's Day. I was like, now you know what I want.
Yeah. No, I remember picking. That somebody had taken one of those dragons and put them on a rack, and I picked it up and I was hugging it and I was walking it back, and the tail was wagging, and I was like, "It's perfect."
Another thing she'd have
Exactly. It's one of the reasons I'm like, I want it, but at the same time, I don't. If I were to get anything, if I were to get if I saw it right in person, would be the giant butter sticks. They have a giant butter stick stuffed plushie.
Oh, okay. I'm like, why
And
do
it's
you
like-
need a giant butter stick? We don't have room in the fridge.
And it's like it says butter and it has like the little thing where it's
Marks.
yeah. And it's huge.
Are you hearing what your wife is saying? Okay.
Okay. But yeah. Because then I could use it as like something to like throw my leg over as like a when I'm sleeping because sometimes my hip gets all fucked up.
Yeah.
So like
People were irritating him during the game.
um
He's probably hungry.
yeah, that's too. So, but yeah, that's
Your pumpkin.
Happy Valentine's Day. And I'm trying to think of what the next case is. The next case is Timothy Coggins, is it on?
Oh, no, yes.
Valentine's Day Massacre.
Because he's on the 15th.
He's on the 15th. Okay.
He's
So
on the 15th.
the next case again has to do with racism. I'm sorry, guys. I felt it should be made a point during Black History Month.
Mhm.
This
What?
case has a lot to.
What?
The next case is basically a lot to do with racism. Don't be a white supremacist. Don't beat the shit out of a man because he's dating a white girl.
What?
Yeah. Don't do that. Be prepared. It's going to be a fun case next week. Well, whenever are we recording it tomorrow?
No, I don't think so.
We're going to take a break.
Yes, we're going to take a break.
We're tired.
We need to take a break. We have to get on our new work schedule. And then I think Sunday or Monday. I think Sunday we're pre-recording the Timothy one.
Okay, Sunday. So we're taking
Sunday,
Friday.
we're taking Saturday off.
We're taking Saturday off, and then we're pre-recording Sunday.
Yep.
And then we're gonna pre-record on Monday too.
Because we have the Happy Face Killer pre-recording that one on Tuesday, but we're moving it up because they're going to be going out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, people. All right, chitlins. You have yourself a nice,
Bye, guys.
cozy evening. See you later.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy V-Day.
Get a giant pink dragon.